Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the premier radio networks, including now 184 of the best stations in the U.S. on Sunday, June 24th, 2012. This is episode 886. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to Squarespace.com. Use the offer code TechGuy6. By the way, they now offer free domain registration with annual plan subscriptions. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, and all that jazz. This is the show where technology rules. But I want to say something about that. I am not one of them tech guys who loves technology for technology. So we're like, okay, that's wrong. I lied. I do love technology for technology's sake. However, I'm also, I think, very clear that it's not always a perfect solution. The technology can be misused. And my goal here is not to represent the technology industry to you, but rather to represent you to the technology industry, to help you understand this stuff and help speak for the user, because, we're all users, and frankly, the technology industry has plenty of shills. People speaking for it. I need not shill for them. But you can help me because I'm very challenged by something that happened this week. Microsoft had two big announcements. Microsoft had the biggest news week, the biggest week in its history as far as I'm concerned. On Monday, they announced that they were going into the hardware business. On Thursday, they announced the new Windows Phone. And I have to break this all down. But let's start with the Monday announcement because I think that was the most interesting. This is, for Microsoft, a complete I believe, change in how they do business, in their business model. Microsoft has historically been a software company, and for good reason. That's where all the money is. Yeah, okay, I know, and people are saying, wait a minute, Leo, there's Microsoft mice, there's keyboards, and let's not forget the Xbox. Well, of course, they do make some hardware. But the bulk of their profit, in fact, I don't know what the number is, close to 90%, if not more, of their profit comes from two things: Microsoft Windows operating system sales and licenses, more licenses than sales, and Microsoft Office sales and upgrades. And then the bulk of the money from the Microsoft Office is upgrades, because everybody by now has a copy, is upgrading. So that's where Microsoft's money came. And, that's a high-margin business because you actually don't have to make anything, especially now. You don't even need to make a CD. People download it. It's very inexpensive. Very inexpensive, low cost, high margin, high profit. But times are changing, and Microsoft has made a very big change. And I think one of the reasons is because it isn't as high profit as it used to be. There's a guy named Horace Didiu who did some calculations about why Microsoft might have done this. And I'll cut to the chase. It's a great article, which was worth reading. He does some math, basic math on the amount of money Microsoft makes divided by the unit sales, and comes up with a number of about $78. That's how much money Microsoft makes per PC. That's its profit. So he doesn't make money on the PC. It makes money on the license, on the sale of software after the fact. And that's been a good business because, heck, that's all profit. They put a little R&D in there. They spend a lot of money on R&D, but once they've invented Windows, it's all profit from then on in. Well, here's the interesting thing. Maybe you've noticed this. All of a sudden, this Apple company comes along, a hardware manufacturer. We used to say, in comparing Microsoft and Apple, whose wallet would you rather have, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs? And it was always Bill Gates. He was the guy making all the money. Well, that's changed, hasn't it? And part of the reason is because Apple's figured out a way to make a lot of money, a lot of profit. Microsoft's business was built on expensive software running on cheap hardware. Apple's business is exactly the opposite. Inexpensive software. Their operating system, $30. What is it, $20 next time around for Mountain Lion? And apps, what are apps? A few bucks here and there on expensive hardware. Inexpensive or free software. They don't even really charge for the operating system. On high margin, profitable, expensive hardware. And as the curves start to intersect between sales of PCs and sales of tablets, and when we say tablets, we mean iPads, suddenly, and I think this is what happened in Redmond, Washington, the headquarters of Microsoft, they started looking at the numbers and said, whoa, the trend is not our friend. Our margins, our profits are going to go down, and Apple's are clearly going up, up, up. Maybe our business model, expensive software on cheap hardware, is broken. Maybe what we need to do is get in the hardware business, and that's exactly what they announced, to the shock of everyone. Because for years, really, the money comes from going to Dell and HP and Toshiba and saying, here, buy Windows, put it on your hardware. And all of a sudden, I can only imagine the calls Steve Ballmer made to Michael Dell saying, hey, Mike, love you. Love your business. In fact, he even said this at the keynote. You guys are great. We love you. But by the way, we're going to make our own computers from now on. That doesn't mean they're going to not license it to Dell. And the truth is, what choice does Dell have? What's Dell going to do? There's no other operating system they can go to. They still have to sell Windows computers. But it's got to frost them a little bit that Microsoft's going to come along and say, hey, look, this is how it ought to be. Here's a nice computer. This is one you want. They announced 2 tablets named Surface, which is kind of ironic. It's a trademark Microsoft owns because they made a touch table called the Surface 5 years ago. They still make it, but they announced it 5 years ago. They're going to rename that. Name it something else. That's not important. Don't worry about the table. We've got tablets called Surface. I think Surface is a good name for a tablet. And there's 2 of them. Now, here's where there's, still a little mystery. You saw all these reviews in the technology papers and magazines and websites. Hands-on, first hands-on with the Surface. Well, that's not quite true, because the guys at the Surface event held on for dear life to these tablets and just showed them to the journalists. The journalists never got to, for instance, type on a keyboard attached to a tablet, so we don't know how that works. It's a very strange device. It's a floppy keyboard, kind of like the smart cover on the iPad. In fact, exactly like it. It attaches with magnets. It goes on top of it, except it's got touch keys on it and a tablet. And then for the more so that there's 2 versions. There's the Windows RT. This is going to be very confusing. I don't know how they're going to explain this to the marketplace. There's the Windows RT tablet, which is like the iPad. It's based on ARM. It doesn't run native Windows 8 software. It runs this special Windows 8 tablet software with a special Windows 8 Metro interface. That's that tiled interface they talk about. And then there's a more expensive but very similar looking tablet that's running Windows 8 Professional and is actually a PC. There's 2 keyboards you can mix and match. They come in colors too. One, the keys don't move at all. It's what we call a chiclet keyboard. It just, remember the PC Junior? It's that. The Atari 400, it's that. It's just, you press the keys, they don't move, but you're typing. And then there's one with slight movement. It can't be very much because it's a thin thing. I think it's 1.5 millimeters movement, but it's more like a keyboard. So it's interesting. So what if, it's like you kind of changed how your laptop works. Instead of having, a thick bottom with the keyboard and all the processor and all that, and a thinner monitor on a hinge, now you've got all the juice with the display and a detachable keyboard. Microsoft didn't say availability. They didn't say price. They didn't even tell us what the resolution was. We don't even know. We know it's a 10-inch, 10.5-inch screen at 16 by 9 aspect rate. We don't know anything. So it's a very big shift for Microsoft, but a lot of confusion for the rest of the world. Let's talk about it. 8888 Ask Leo. I'm Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
See it all around you. Good loving gone bad.
Good loving gone bad.
And usually it's too late.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Not what you had.
What do you think of the Surface? You can't wait to. It's very interesting. I'll just say one thing about Microsoft's announcements this week. It has revitalized the employees. I hear from everybody. The Microsoft campus so excited. We got our mojo back, and it's great for a company. And I think a lot of tech pundits will say this. It's great for a company to announce new stuff, to say, we're taking our destiny in our own hands. We're going to make something of ourselves. We're not going to take this lying down. A lot of Microsoft fans, users as well as people at the company, have been saying, "Why don't you take on Apple? What are you doing?" And so I think people feel good. I think people feel good about it. And certainly tech journalists do, because, we just like to have, some competition, some variety, something to talk about. It's boring to say Apple, Apple, Apple all the time. Heidi in Santa Monica, you're first. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Well, thank you for taking my call. And I just want to say up front, I have purchased ESET and Carbonite, and I'm thrilled with both. I'm a Mac user, so thank you for those recommendations.
Well, thank you for supporting our sponsors. They make this show possible.
Well, it's my pleasure. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. Oh, nothing to be nervous about. Just us, just you and me. Nobody's listening. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I called about a year and a half ago about a children's show that I created, and it was about lavalier mics at the time.
I remember that. Yeah. What was in it? What was the website?
Kamiko's Kaleidoscope.
K or C?
Kumikos and Kaleidoscope.
Oh, yeah. I know how to spell kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope. I'll try that. .com?
Yes.
All right. I probably should just Google it, because Google would fix my spelling.
Yeah, and you have to worry about the...
Yeah. Kaleido
right.
Kaleidoscope? Oh, you mean Kamiko's? Yeah, it fixed it. Okay, cool. So how's it going? Is that you? Is that you on the? How cute.
That's me. It's Kamiko.
Oh,
Kamiko
that's so
Rocket
cute.
Power.
I love it.
Thank you.
And how's it going?
It's going well. It's a it's a show for preschool children. And I just I did the website myself on Rapid Weaver, and then toward the end I needed help, and I found a great webmaster who could help me with the final touches. But we're having a little bit of a problem with the Facebook hot link for the like. I've noticed on a lot of sites there's a Facebook icon, and then there's a little counter. It almost looks
you want the like button. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes.
And the counter, so I can see how many people have liked the show. And, there's a two-part question, but that's the first.
It's very simple. It's very simple. So what you do is you Google like button. And maybe you didn't know to look for the word button, but that's what it is. You Google like button. And that will take you to a Facebook developers page, developers.facebook.com. And there they will have a little box that says, get the button code. And you could say your URL, Kamiko's, etc. You could say whether there's a send button. You could say what kind of button. And there's three kinds: standard, button count, and box count. And those are, if you look at them, you'll see the three different ways they look. You could say how big it is. You can say, and I do this on my page, whether to show faces of people who like you. So if you go to leoville.com, which is my personal webpage, you'll see a like button there. And then I put on it, I chose the faces code. So you see other people in your group that have liked it. And that's a nice way to build community.
Oh, no, that is perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Facebook tells you how to do it all. And they'll give you the JavaScript code that you paste in. They even, which is nice, tell you what each thing means. So if you want to modify anything, you can do it all by hand. Your webmaster will have no trouble with this.
Oh, great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I don't want to be greedy. Do you have time for one?
Be
quick
greedy, Kamiko.
The question kind of corresponds with the counter. How do I analyze, or what's the best tool to analyze the people that have been to my site so I know the numbers? Because I'm out doing grassroots marketing in costume with my dog Brooklyn, handing out postcards, trying to promote the show, but I can't gauge how many people are actually taking that card that I'm giving out and taking a look at the site.
Yeah, and that will help you so much in marketing, in understanding what people like or don't like. If you have what's called analytics, and actually Google offers this for free. It's called Google Analytics. If you have a Google account, it's a simple thing just to put, again, a little JavaScript. I do it too on all my pages, and they give you a lot of information, where people went, how they got there, how long they stayed. They'll give you, it's exactly what you want. They do graphs. And the nice thing about it, because Google Analytics are well known by advertisers and well accepted, it's you're already doing what you need to do to make your site, if you wanted to sell ads or that kind of thing, do that.
All right, and you say you put it for each page? So
you'll see they give you some, the Google's pretty good about explaining this all, but you don't do it per page, but you do it per site. So you would do it once on the front page of your site, and it will tell you all sorts of things, how many people, unique visitors, for instance, visited the site in any given time period. It tells you what countries they came from. Isn't that nice? So hey, we have some Canadian visitors and so forth. It tells you what browser they use. This is valuable because it tells you whether you need to support older versions of Internet Explorer, for instance. It tells you what operating system they're using. It's a really valuable tool, and all of this is automatic and it's free, which is very nice.
Wow, that is great. Thank you.
Okay, now let me explain why all this stuff is free.
Oh,
these companies, Google and Facebook, use this to collect information about your visitors. Now, I don't, and I get in fights about this all the time. I think that that's fair. When you visit a page, let's say you go to leoville.com, that like button in there, that is really a signal to Facebook. Oh, look, somebody visited leoville.com. And that's what we call, I think this is kind of not a great term for it, a tracking device or a tracking cookie. Mm-hmm. And that is something some people are bugged by. But there are ways that they can fix that. And in fact, all the browsers are now going to have a do not track capability. What that will do is turn off like buttons and all that stuff. Most normal users don't really worry about it. But more and more people are concerned, and that's what Google Analytics does too. Essentially the same information you're getting from Google, they're getting from you.
Oh, okay.
But that's useful for a variety of reasons for them.
Well, I appreciate the suggestion. Thank you. I wouldn't have known otherwise. And I've learned so much from you. I knew nothing about tech when I started listening to you several years ago, and I've gone back and listened to the archive shows.
Thank you,
and
Ivy.
From you, I learned how to edit my show through Final Cut Pro and basically had the courage to do it, so I can't thank you enough.
Well, I love your dog, too.
Thank you. Her name is Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. And is she a spaniel? What kind of dog is she?
She's a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel.
King Charles. They're so beautiful, those long ears and that silky fur. Wow, I bet kids love this show. And it looks like you're doing it on a green screen. Heidi, you're doing a great job. Keep up the great work. Kamiko's Kaleidoscope. That's really cute. Hold up, Kamiko's Critters. This is one of the things that to me is very exciting about technology, is that, normally if you wanted to do this, you'd have to put a large team together. You'd have to go to PBS or somebody and say, hey, I want to do a kids show. You'd have to get a guy willing to wear a kilt, and it would be, this is so cute. So anybody who wants to now, essentially, if you have a computer, YouTube's doing the bandwidth, can create a show of any kind, including what looks like an awesome kids show. Now, this is the sad part, 76 views. And that's the challenge, isn't it, is to get that audience. And she's got a channel on YouTube. And some of these are 3 or 4 views. And that really is the challenge. 65 views. It's just, here's the theme song. Let's listen to that. I mean, that's one of the reasons I don't mind if people come on and plug, because I think what they're doing is really cool. and I really want to support this kind of thing. And it can be frustrating and difficult if you're doing all this work and 6 people look at it.
We'll have a fun day. We'll laugh a lot. We'll learn some new things.
Screecholi on the spot.
With Nick Daly in Brooklyn, right by her
Cute dog.
side.
Reminds me of Ozzy a little bit. I love spaniels.
I hope she'll give it a try.
Kaleido. Kaleidoscope. She's already using Google Analytics. Yeah, her webmaster knew about it. Or she maybe have known about it and just wanted to get a little... No, that doesn't make sense. I think, yeah. Yeah, sub to supporter. What happened? You mean with the ticket contest, the Roger Waters contest? I think he came in second. John, did you ever get an invitation to meet Roger or anything? Good. I want our counts to go up. One of the things that's very interesting to see the success of things like Fred Figglesworth and Annoying Orange, which are things that are so annoying to adults that they would have never made it on broadcast, but kids like it, unfortunately. And it's the kind of thing, if an adult broadcast executive sees Annoying Orange, he's going to say, "Oh, forget that. That ain't good. We're not putting that on our airwaves. That's annoying." But then it gets millions of views on YouTube, or Fred Figglesworth gets millions of views on YouTube, and guess what happens? Nickelodeon comes along and says, "Oh, kids actually like this crap." They think the crap part. And I think that's very interesting. I think it means in some ways this is about democratization of media. And it gives kids a voice, and suddenly kids can get the programming they like, even though adults think it's reprehensible. They couldn't sell ads for Figglehorn? Well, and that may be the problem, is that you're right, that by the time broadcast figures out what's going on, it's gone. And that's kind of the negative on this stuff, is it moves. The memes move fast. But one hopes that Fred and the Orange people will, Well, kids should be watching science shows, but will they? Hey, we did hard science shows. Nobody watched it, so there. Even you guys didn't watch it.
All right, Leo, Carbonite's your billboard here. As we create a meme.
Come on into Kamiko's Kaleidoscope. Meet new friends. Greet new friends. Share good times at Kamiko's Kaleidoscope. We'll have a fun day. We'll laugh a lot. We'll learn some new things.
This portion of the Tech Guy Show is brought to you by Kamiko's Kaleidoscope and Carbonite.com. It's backup done right. So give it a try. Go to Carbonite.com. Use the offer code LEO for 2 weeks free if you decide to buy 2 months free with purchase. Carbonite.com. We were talking, I was talking with the chat room about this off the air. This is all about the democratization of media, right? Making media accessible to anybody. And now, thanks to things like YouTube, where you don't need to pay for bandwidth, and you can reach a global audience of millions, billions of people, Facebook, Twitter, and, of course, inexpensive digital technology, camcorders, computers, editors. We now live in a world where somebody could say, hey, normally, in the normal course of events, Heidi would have had to put a team together and hire people and spend, a lot of money to make a pilot, then shop it around to the networks. And, the chances are pretty good that she'd get declined. There are a lot more no's than yeses. So what do? Well, you do it yourself, and you put it on the YouTube, and who knows what's going to happen. And I think of things like Fred, what is it, Figglehorn? The annoying kid with the high-pitched voice and annoying orange, which even in its name says what it is, which is annoying, is the kind of thing that adults like me and broadcast executives probably would look at and say, oh, yeah, pass. That's too annoying. Pass. Except that it got on YouTube. It got so many millions of views, the broadcast executive said, maybe we should give it a try. And both got shows on networks. Annoying Orange is now on, what is it, Nickelodeon? And I know Fred got on Nickelodeon. And I think that's great. It means that you can do it yourself. You can get an audience, you get some attention, and you can even get some money on mainstream Cartoon Network. Okay, and that's right. Annoying Orange is on Cartoon Network. And Fred is on, or I don't know if he still is. He was on Nickelodeon. I like it. I think a lot of people say, oh, all the amateurs now are going to create content. Oh, dear. Whatever will we do? Lovey, those people are outside with pitchforks. What are we going to do? It's good. That's good. Yeah, and maybe there's a lot of horrible stuff like, I don't like Annoying Orange or Fred Figglehorn. Bugs the heck out of me, but it's not for me. Lovey, there's an orange out there. Whatever do they want? Sean in Illinois, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, thanks for taking my call.
Hey, Sean.
I had a unique question. I work at a bar. I'm a manager of a bar / sports bar.
Okay.
What we do is we have probably 15 to 20, maybe not LCD, the older analog tube TVs.
No, really, big ones.
Well, yeah, the big ones.
Yeah, they're hanging up in the air on the wall there, gathering dust.
Yep. About 5 of those is LCD, and then one of those is a brand new Sharp 70-inch LED.
Ooh, nice. Very nice.
We just bought that one. We just upgraded to that one.
Makes all those old TVs look pretty bad, doesn't it?
Well, that's technically actually the LED, the new 70-inch is the one I have problems with.
Oh, what's the matter?
It's actually like a half a second behind in video and audio.
Right.
With everything else.
Right. Because think about it. It's pushing a lot more data down the pipe.
Okay.
And so, are you getting it from the same source? It's all from satellite or whatever?
It's all from satellite.
And it's coming in on the same dish and going to the same satellite box and then being distributed to... No, because it's different. It's different channels, isn't it?
Well, we have probably I think like 7 different dish network boxes that control each channel individually. And
the big screen is on an HD version of whatever, ESPN or whatever, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the other ones are on a standard definition version.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they don't make any attempts to synchronize those, and HD just, it maybe probably is the encoding takes a little bit longer to get it up onto the bird. It's bigger.
Okay. That's what I figured. I went through and reset all the audio and the video settings, and nothing seems to help.
Well, you can, and it's probably what you're going to need. Well, let me think.
Eventually, she's going to go and replace all.
Do it all that way. Yeah. This will.
My question is, will we have the same problem?
No. Well, they'll match. Once you do all the same channel, it'll match.
Okay.
The reason is just it's a little behind because the back at the ranch where they're encoding this stuff to put it on the satellite. It's just, if you think about it, that high def, how many pixels are on that screen compared to the standard definition screen? It's 4 or 5 times more. It just takes them a little bit longer to squeeze it and put it up on the bird, and that little bit longer is what you're hearing. It does sound like echo. It's just slightly delayed. Now, you can buy boxes that will delay the faster. That will delay the faster stuff. You obviously can't speed up the slower stuff. So what you want to do is delay the SD signals to be at the same time. Now, many AV receivers do this, but as I remember, they do it with audio only, and that's because the same problem happens with audio and video. Video takes a little bit longer to encode. The audio sometimes can get ahead, and you can lose lip sync. And so, for instance, my Onkyo home theater AV receiver has a setting where by 10 millisecond increments, you can slow down the audio so that the lip sync will be good. What you need is something that does audio and video.
my thought was that maybe it takes a little time to process it. But we have 5 other LCD TVs that hang on the wall, and none of those have a delay. Maybe they're not in HD. I'm not sure. I didn't hook the system up. But.
Yeah, I would look and see. I mean, maybe that's why they don't turn the sound on in a lot of sports bars.
Well, we broadcast all UFC and WWE.
Oh man, my son would be there.
Pay-per-view. My nephew actually fights in UFC.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
How interesting. It's scary, boy. I watch those fights. And my son is training in mixed martial arts. He says he doesn't want to fight. I said, you better not.
my nephew does. He's out of Clinton, so and he's doing pretty well.
Is he doing well? Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's neat.
yeah,
What?
yeah.
So, boy, I'm trying to think of. There must be, I don't know, and it's kind of a specialized thing, but I can guarantee you, Sean, somebody listening knows. There must be some way to sync these up. This is something people come up with. My guess would be, and I've seen these for audio, as I said, but I guess would be there is a box that will sync up the audio and the video and just slow down the SD signals so that they're as slow as the HD signal. It could be that the could the television be the source of the issue? He says that he has other LCD panels that don't have that problem. You could change all the TVs to HD, but you're not going to display HD on that CRT. Could be there is a DVR in between. I don't know. Anybody has an idea, why don't you give us a ring? 8888 Ask Leo. It's an interesting issue. And we see this a lot in video encoding, where there's the audio and video get out of sync. And it's, it can be very annoying. Keep listening, Sean. Somebody will tell us. Let's go to Hawaii. What do you say? Ellie's on the line. Hello, Ellie.
Hi, I haven't talked to you in ages.
Aloha.
Aloha. I've been listening, though.
Good.
I always do.
Good. Is
this show and Mac Break Weekly are my 2 favorites.
Giant Dolphin. What is the website again?
GiantDolphin.com.
GiantDolphin.com. Hawaii through our eyes.
That's what I'm calling you about. Yeah. I'm on one of these deadlines, thanks to Apple and MobileMe going away.
That's right, the end of the month, baby. So have you been using the pictures, the galleries on there?
Right, so I need a web hosting company.
Oh, in fact, I see you're using iWeb, aren't you?
Right.
Oh, you're in deep doo-doo.
Yes, exactly.
What do we do? Well, hang on, Ellie. We'll talk about it when we come back.
Okay.
The clock is ticking. You got a week to figure out what to do. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
They call him Flipper, faster than lightning. No one you see is smarter than he.
Oh, yeah.
And we know Flipper.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm almost as smart as a dolphin. Speaking of dolphins, Ellie from GiantDolphin.com is on the line. She does a website that has been done for some time now in Apple's obsolete iWeb. And I don't know, Ellie, if you remember, but I counseled everybody when iWeb came out not to use it for this problem. And Front Page from Microsoft has had a similar problem, which is it creates proprietary websites. It creates websites that are dependent on MobileMe and iWeb. So iWeb does have web or standard FTP publishing, and in some cases that will work. It depends on if you use some of the fancy iWeb extensions. So that's good news, because FTP, which if you look in iWeb under publishing settings, you'll see instead of publish to MobileMe, you'll see publish to FTP server. That's just to a generic web host, Ellie. So that you'll be able to do. But it, anything special that you've done there, I think is going to be messed up. I would probably. I don't know what to say. There are a lot of web hosting companies. The ones that I generally recommend, like our sponsor Squarespace, will not work with iWeb at all. I wonder if Squarespace is going to offer an iWeb tool. That's what they should be doing. I'm surprised somebody hasn't come along and said, "Hey, here you go. Press one button and we'll convert your iWeb." There is a web design tool. It's a lot harder to use than iWeb. It's a good tool. I like it, called Sandvox, Sandvox, and it will actually convert iWeb into a more standard, website. But again, you're going to have probably some tidying up to do. I'm looking. There's quite a few articles on iWeb and migration at this point because June 30th, Apple pulls the plug. Its biggest concern is for iWeb users and people who have been using the MobileMe galleries because those are gone too. And at least you can get your pictures off. You should download your website. If you've been using iWeb, you don't have to worry about it because iWeb, stores it locally. I don't see anybody. It's kind of a shame offering a conversion tool. Are you still there, Ellie? Did I lose you?
I'm here.
Oh, good. So,
where's the chat room on this?
Well, they're with me, which is, so one thing Waskell in the chat room says, which is good advice, is to publish first locally. When you publish your iWeb, you can also publish it to the hard drive, to a folder in your hard drive. Do that, then open it with Safari on the hard drive. And see how that looks.
Uh-huh.
And that has two benefits. One is you're making a copy of your website onto your hard drive. And the other is you'll see how it looks without the special iWeb MobileMe extensions. If it looks okay, and I'm looking at your site, and it looks like, you're pretty good. Were you using the MobileMe galleries for the pictures?
Yes.
I thank you, Apple, for providing us with this wonderful problem. Front Page did this. Microsoft did the same thing. Remember, with Front Page and Front Page extensions. As soon as Front Page, it wouldn't work if you put it on a server that didn't support Front Page extensions. Unfortunately, this is even worse because only Apple supports iWeb extensions and MobileMe Gallery.
Will you have all these notes written down?
Yeah. I think what we're going to say probably is make sure you've got a copy on your hard drive. You're going to look for a new hosting solution, whether it's Squarespace or WordPress.com or Blogger.com. I like Blogger. I like WordPress. They're free. Squarespace is not free, but is one of our sponsors, and they do a nice job too. But in none of those cases will you be able to use an iWeb-like tool. You'll probably be able to import the content over. It won't look the same. You might have to do some cleanup. I know that's difficult for you.
Well, maybe one of your other callers will say what they did, and we could find out that way.
Yeah, maybe they will. My recommendation, though, Ellie, was why don't you start now? You got a week, and create a free account at WordPress.com. Take your it has an import tool that will import your site and see what it looks like. See how close. Sandvox is a great tool. RapidWeaver is another tool, but they are not as easy to use as iWeb. See, iWeb, the promise of iWeb was that it made it so easy that you could just push a button and publish. But the negative on this was you were kind of dependent on Apple. And once iWeb goes away and MobileMe goes away, you're going to have to start over. You get Sandvox. It will convert. It's pretty easy to use. Sandvox, they have a 30-day free trial at Karelia.com, Karelia.com. It is $80, so I would try it free first. Use the conversion, see what it looks like, see how much cleanup you need to do. And then the nice thing about Sandvox, it works with any web host. Any standard web host will work just fine. This is not. It's. If you listened when iWeb came out, I told everybody, don't use this. It's tempting, but it's bad because once you use it, you're stuck in this Apple world. You need another web host, and you need to convert it, and you need to upload it, and it will not look exactly the same. You'll have to do some cleanup as well. Sorry. It's frustrating to me. Hey, let's take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Dean in Thousand Oaks. His router doesn't work with the internet. Yeah, kind of, it's unfortunate. That's not good. It means your router is useless. So we'll talk about the router problem. I saw a friend of mine, Matt Howie, tweeted yesterday. He says, sometimes I think the only reason my wife keeps me around is to reboot the router. I know how you feel. All right, now we go to Dean in Thousand Oaks. Hi, Dean. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yeah, good morning, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling. What can I do for you?
I did a system restore the other day. Everything went through fine and shut the computer down. And the following morning, I fired the computer up and I had no internet access. And in the course of doing a few things, I discovered that if I bypass the router and go directly into the computer from the modem, everything works fine. But it's when I go through my router, I have no internet access. So I figured I had a bad router, or the router went bad, I should say. And I bought a new router, and I got the same problem. And I was able to run the startup CD that came with the new router. It ran through the process, and when it was done, it said router ping failed after router restart.
I think I have an idea, but we got to take a break. Stay tuned. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, he has to reboot the modem. I would, and I love running my own business. I love the control. Talk about Squarespace.com right now. This would be a good time to do that. I hope Ellie's still listening. Now, I don't think Squarespace, I think so few people use iWeb that it probably wasn't, they deemed it wasn't worth the effort. But this is, if you wanted to start from, fresh, this would be the way to do it. And Ellie, I would recommend this highly. Squarespace.com. So this is hosting. It's not free. It's hosting, very, very good hosting, and a web design software that's as easy to use as iWeb was, but very much more sophisticated. Really nicely done. If you visit Squarespace.com, a couple of things I would say. Look at the pricing first. They've redone the pricing. It's very simple. There's two plans now, standard and unlimited. The standard plan, $8 a month when billed annually. Probably be enough for Giant Dolphin. It's 20 pages, a half terabyte of bandwidth a month, 2 gigabytes of storage a month. But for $16 a month billed annually, you get unlimited pages, unlimited bandwidth. So for a site, a podcaster, somebody who's expecting a lot of downloads, this is great. A photographer. The design tools on here are amazing. And this is why you chose iWeb in the first place, because it looked so great. The problem with iWeb is I looked immediately at your site, and it's an iWeb site. It's obvious. It just has there weren't that many looks. The nice thing about Squarespace is you start with templates, and then you customize them very easily with point and click. You don't have to know any CSS. You've got 85, actually more than 85 style variants from brand name designers. So everything's unique. And then you customize it. You even have the Google Web Fonts, which is fantastic. This is something iWeb did not do, and I think is very nice. Now, if you know CSS or JavaScript, I'm not talking to you, Ellie, but to the the pro developers out there, it does support that. In fact, it has a beautiful pop-out CSS editor with code coloring and all that stuff. Look at the sample sites to get an idea. If you go to squarespace.com and click examples, a lot of photographers, artists, businesses, individuals on here. Just really slick. Go to squarespace.com right now. It's pretty, isn't it? Try it free for 2 weeks, Ellie. And you can even, they do have an importer. So what you can do is you can have your iWeb exported to a standard format and then use the importer for, it works with WordPress Blogger, TypePad, and one other. And then you could do this free website without a credit card or anything, just your name, email address, the name of your site, and a password. 2 weeks free, all the features of Squarespace. If you decide you want to buy it, very affordable. And I do think that you get more, the free sites, it's nice, but boy, I tell you, what you get. Look at Totally Rad shows on here. Look at these sites. They're just gorgeous. Squarespace.com. Now, 10% off when you use our offer code TechGuy6. 6 for the month of June. If you're listening in July, make it 7. If you're listening in August, make it 8. Get it? Tech Guy 6, though, for the month of June. Squarespace.com. Get 10% off your first purchase. It's really, really sweet. I loves it. I loves it. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, home theater. Our photographer, Chris Marquardt, digital photography expert, will join us at 33 past the hour to talk photography. He's got some tips for you. Meanwhile, we were talking to Dean in Thousand Oaks. Dean had a problem. He did a system restore. All of a sudden, his router stopped working. He took the router out and connected his computer directly to his, is it a DSL modem, you said, Chris? I mean, Dean?
Yes, from the modem directly to the computer.
And then it worked.
It works fine, just like there was nothing ever wrong.
So it would be my guess that, does the modem, okay, a couple of questions. Does a DSL modem have a router in it?
No.
It's just, it has one port on it that you connect into the router.
That's correct, yes.
So sometimes what has to happen is the DSL modem is tied to the router hardware. And this, I've seen this happen with cable modems. I haven't seen it happen with DSL modems, but I think it might happen. It might be the same thing. Which is, then what you need to do is to turn it all off, including the DSL modem. Have you tried this?
Yeah, I've tried resetting it, yeah.
And so turn everything off, shut down the computer, turn off the router, unplug it if you don't have an on-off switch, and unplug the DSL modem from the wall. Turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
Then turn on the DSL modem, wait a minute. Turn on the router, wait a minute. So what? Now, this with a cable modem, what this does is it signals back to the home office that you've changed hardware. And sometimes with cable modems, that's sufficient. Sometimes you actually have to call the cable provider and say, hey, you've tied to a specific MAC address. Each device on a network has a unique address called a MAC address.
Right.
And sometimes the modems tie to a MAC address. So that's my theory. Is that and so what you need to do is tell the modem, no. Go back to this MAC address. Because you put a new router in, right? And it still didn't work.
Yeah, that's correct. I got the same problem.
Yeah, so that would be my guess. The other thing, I presume you've looked at the network settings on the computer, and it's using what we call DHCP. It says automatically configure my IP address, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See, but the first thing that I have to say is, well, why, when you change the way the computer's set, would the router break?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't know if it's related to the system restore I did. Maybe that took something out when I did that.
The other thing is to figure. I would call the ISP. I would also find out if the the modem shouldn't be doing any DHCP. The router's doing the DHCP. But I would make sure that the ISP hasn't tied to a particular MAC address for some reason. That's the only thing I could think of.
Alrighty. Well, I shall do that, Leo.
Yeah, take it. And you hit the nail on the head. Somebody in the chat room said, well, must have been, because it worked with the PC, right? You skip the router, it works. It must have been the old router was set up to clone the PC's MAC address. And so this is the only way I can possibly think of it. So the DSL modem sees the MAC address of the router, says, okay, I'm attached to that particular hardware. When you reset, for some reason the router got reset, it no longer cloned the MAC address. However, when you connected the router, the DSL modem up to the computer, that's the same right MAC address. I'm going to work. So that would be my guess. It's very hard to figure out, to be honest. I'm not sure what's going on there. Chat room seems just as puzzled as I am. It's great to have the chat room here, by the way. Really smart people, and if you want to join them and become the kids in the back of the class, go to our website, techguylabs.com. techguylabs.com. It's a puzzlement. They don't seem to. They have a lot of thoughts, though. In fact, that's another place you can go, Dean. It's just sit there in the chat room and let it all wash over you. We're still trying to solve the problem with the TV set in the sports bar. A bunch of standard definition television sets bring in a nice new giant HD TV, and all of a sudden, it's about a second late, and it sounds like it's echoing. How do we solve it? Chris in Rosemont, California says he knows. Hi, Chris. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well. What can we do for this fella?
Okay, so basically what's going on is when it sounds like you put in a high-definition DVR.
No, he says there's no DVR.
Does he? Because I know when you run it through a DVR, it goes through the hard drive.
Oh, yeah. DVR would do it. That's the first thing I asked him. He said, no, there's no DVR.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was my solution. I mean, because I have that issue with my DVR. When I pause it, the other TVs are faster because it's going through that hard drive.
If you can pause a recording on that giant 70-inch, then it is a DVR, and you do want to disconnect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Now, somebody in the chat room says some HDMI TVs do have a delay adjustment on them, so maybe there is a way to do it in the settings of the TV.
Yeah, that might be true. I know that the DVRs, you could deactivate the authorization on those DVRs by calling your TV provider.
Ah.
And if he does have a DVR service, they'll deactivate it.
Bypass it.
DVR,
yeah.
And they'll bypass it, and that should fix the problem.
Chris, thank you.
So, no problem. You have a good day.
You too. Take care. Chris is a satellite installer. He has this happen all the time, I guess. 8888 Ask Leo. Questions or answers, welcome. 888-827-5536. Craig in Roebling, New Jersey. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
How you doing, Leo?
Hey, Chris. Craig, I'm sorry.
Craig.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's all right. Okay, I want to switch from Mac to Windows, but I don't know what to do with my Aperture library.
A reverse switcher.
They kind of outpriced themselves.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Having just bought that new Retina display MacBook, I definitely know the feeling.
Yeah, and my iMac is getting left in the dust next month.
Yep. I would say that any adjustments you made in Aperture and so forth, they're kind of lost. There's no Aperture compatible software on the Windows side. You're probably going to switch to Lightroom, which is an excellent program.
Yeah, will Lightroom organize it like Aperture is?
Yeah, Lightroom is very similar to Aperture. In fact, I go back and forth. But they're not compatible libraries. So what you're going to do is you're going to get all the originals, which you still have. Aperture doesn't change those. And then I would go through your Aperture catalog and save out JPEGs of everything you everything you adjusted.
Okay.
But it's like flattening a Photoshop file, right? There's no going back. Those adjustments are now permanent.
Okay. And my other question is, these are all on an external drive, which will not be able to be read on a Windows machine.
Yeah, unless the drive is formatted NTFS or FAT32. But I bet if you've been using Macs, it's formatted with the Mac format.
Yeah.
So what you're going to need is either there's a couple of ways to do this. There's programs you can run on Windows that let you read a Mac format. But what I would suggest is getting keep that drive. That's a good backup of everything in case things go south. At least you've got a copy of that. I would get another drive and format it NTFS when you get the Windows machine.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is possible to get software on your old Mac that will read NTFS. So you can even do that right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, they're free. There's MacFuse is a free open source program that you put on a Macintosh that lets it read the Windows file system. I don't think there are any free programs. Maybe I'm wrong, though, for Windows that let you read the Mac file system, HFS. And we've got a great link, thank you, Bruce S., from LightroomSolutions.com on migrating from Aperture to Lightroom. Now, of course, this is probably Lightroom on the Mac, so it won't handle that file system thing, but it talks about saving the masters out, just as I said, saving out keywords and data, IPTC tags, things like that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this.
Nobody
First tech guy of the summer. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion. You want to help us out here? We've got a number of problems on the table that we haven't solved yet. Somebody suggested this is not a bad idea for the sports bar that has TVs out of sync. Pick one, probably the high def, and use it as the audio source for the whole bar. Of course, the only problem with that is that the old TVs look like the lip sync is bad. If it's like a second, I don't know if that's going to solve it. 8888 Ask Leo. I'd love to hear your suggestions, your help. And our new website's coming along, and is going to be. I think we're going to do a beta test probably next week. In the next few weeks, we'll make it make the switch. I want to say pull the plug. I guess we will. We'll pull the plug on the old site and flip over to the new site. One of the nice things about the new site is you'll be able to leave comments. We'll have each question and answer pair will be an entry on the page, and you'll be able to leave comments for each question and answer. So you'll be able to go to a specific question and say, oh, I have a solution. That'll be helpful. Perhaps even more helpful, you'll be able to vote on the answers, up or down. So the theory being the best answers will rise to the top. Warren is in San Diego. Hi, Warren. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo.
Hello, Warren. How are you?
You can hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Good.
I really appreciate listening to the show while on hold rather than listening to elevator music of some kind.
Yeah, isn't that nice? We we would hate to have to, have the girl from Ipanema over and over again. That just wouldn't work.
While I'm listening to you, I'm watching a slideshow of sorts on my computer screen from a program I got off of Kim Commando, the digital goddess, some years ago.
How much did she charge you for it?
Nothing.
Oh, wow. She doesn't give a lot away free. That's nice of her.
Well, it's a referral. That she gives out.
So she gets a little something on the side there.
The program is called johnsadventure.com. And you can load up a number of photo albums, and then you can rotate the pictures in the albums on your screen for as little as 10 seconds and up to 7 days. So I've sort of been watching the slideshow while I've been listening to you.
Great. What can I do for you, Warren?
Before I get to my question, which I gave your screener, I have just a small comment, if you'll give me a moment.
Sure.
I'm a child of the 20s.
Wow.
So I got a few years behind me, and you're Leo the tech guy, but I'm Warren I think they would call me the non-tech guy.
Oh no, come on. If you've been listening to the Digital Goddess, something must have sunk in.
Yeah, it does from time to time. When we were kids, we didn't have such things as television and smartphones and such. We had the radio was our only entertainment besides a dime to go to the movies once in a while. And there were great radio voices called The Lone Ranger and the voice of Orson Welles and the Green Hornet and such. And your voice, your radio voice from time to time reminds me of these great radio voices from the past.
Thank you so much, Warren. I do feel I missed my generation. I would have liked to have cupped my hand behind my ear and introduced Make-Believe Ballroom.
Well, when you talk about putting your hand behind your ear, when I got these JBL speakers, which is the purpose of my call.
By the way, I love JBL speakers. They're great.
I got these JBLs 47 years ago.
Wow.
They're the big floor models called the JBL Apollo model.
Yeah, those are great speakers.
They measure 20 deep by 40 across on the top.
I bet you can move some air with those. Wow.
You can shake the building.
Yeah. Well, do you want to use those with your computer? Is that what you want to do?
I want to do. I have right now a Gateway PC with small stereo speakers. They're about maybe 1.5 or 2 inches.
Well, you know, the truth is, I mean, if you had those JBLs in those days, you also had, didn't you, an amplifier?
Correct.
And a turntable, and you might have also had a receiver to receive radio. And so these were what we called separates. They each part of the stereo system was a unique component.
That's right. They were called component systems.
Your component systems. Now, you basically need to do the same thing and think of your computer's output as a component, as an input to the aux jack of a amplifier or receiver.
On the back of the speakers are two screw posts.
Yeah, those speakers are unpowered. You know, nowadays when they sell computer speakers, they usually have an amplifier built into them, and they can be plugged right into the computer, but not those great JBLs. Those Apollos need an amplifier. So what you've got to do is take the line level out of the sound card on the back of your computer. You'll see probably at least one, maybe 2 outputs. One's headphone. You don't want to use that. If you've got a line level out, that'd be the best. And that's a mini jack that goes into the aux input of an amplifier. You still have your old amp?
I have a Macintosh.
Oh man, I'm coming to your house.
I have a total Macintosh system.
Oh,
JBLs.
Oh, I'm so jealous. So the Macintosh, and this is MC, not MAC, like the computer. Those tube amps are still, today, considered the best amplifiers ever made.
I have taken them to the factory.
Wow.
And had them retuned some years ago.
Now, do you have a preamp as well?
I have a preamp.
So that's where the audio from the computer will go. It'll go into your preamp, which will condition it. That'll go into your big power amp, and then the power amp goes to the JBLs. Do you still have a turntable and other things hooked up to this system?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have the system hooked up as we speak.
Well, the computer is just the aux input. Think of it as an aux input. There'll be a pair of probably RCA, although that vintage, I'm not sure what they would have on the back, but I would guess on the preamp, there'll be a pair of left and right RCA jacks, and you go to Radio Shack or somewhere and you get a mini phono plug, because that's what the phono plug coming out of your computer is. That's the output. Again, better use line level than speaker level, but if that's all you've got, speaker level's fine. The mini will come out into a pair of RCAs. That'll go into the aux settings on your preamp, and then slowly turn it up and feel the Apollos rumble. Thank you, Warren. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. ASL Extreme. I do miss those days. But, you know, the standards in radio have changed very much. They want people to sound more human, more natural. They don't want us to sound like trained announcers. But I still can. Hey, let's bring in Chris Marquardt. He is our digital photography expert. He hosts a wonderful podcast about digital photography called Tips from the Top Floor. You could find all his work, including information about his workshops and lots of pictures, at chrismarquardt.com. A very good day to you, Chris. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm great. We're glad to have you. And you sent me a bunch of pictures. I don't know why, but I'm ready.
I just thought you might some visuals when we talk about a topic today. There's so much tech talk, so I thought I'd bring it back to some of the creative sides of photography how do we deal with motion in photography? You know, it's very often photographers have that goal to just freeze motion.
Right.
And just get a short shutter speed, no shake, no nothing in the picture. But that is so common now, and the cameras are kind of designed in a way to do that, to minimize those shutter speeds, but it takes away a lot of the creative side of things. So obviously, if you want to stop motion in something, you'd need a short shutter speed, like this picture you're just showing.
Yeah, this is one of your workshops, and you got 20 participants to jump.
Yes,
and they're all frozen in midair.
So
except for one guy who apparently is too cool for school. He's got his feet right on the ground there.
You have no idea how many tries we took to get everyone off the ground. This was the best one we got.
It ain't easy.
But that stopping the motion, I think, is really interesting with things that kind of obviously move. I mean, people just don't hang in the air, right? They don't hover.
Right.
So if you use something, let's say sports or water or that levitation kind of photography, there's this trend. I'm not sure if you've seen those photographers who actually jumping in the air and trying to look cool while they do it. So when they take a picture at the right moment, they look like they're
floating.
They're floating, reading the newspaper, something like that.
I love that.
So that's how you do it. You jump up, you try to look cool, and then very short shutter speed at the right moment, and that freezes all the motion, and then it looks like kind of normal.
That's the challenge, is to look cool while you're doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's the other way around. If you want to exaggerate motion, you'll be looking at longer shutter speeds.
Okay, so setting it to a faster shutter speed, which is a bigger number usually, right? It's like one.
And most cameras nowadays have a setting on there. It's either S or TV value. Canon uses the TV notion. Nikon uses the S notion for shutter speed. So that's where you get to select the shutter speed. And if you use a very short shutter speed, let's say a 200th or 400th of a second, something like that.
Well, that's all. You don't have to go to like a 2,000th of a second.
Not even. No, with most things that will do just fine.
What did you use for this picture of everybody jumping in the air? Because that's pretty well frozen.
I think that was maybe a 400th of a second.
All right.
Really not that. I mean, if you want to freeze a golf ball in the air, you'd need a 4,000, 8,000 a second. Yes, but
when you shorten the shutter speed, you're letting less light in.
Right.
So your picture might get darker. So you compensate that how?
Well, you can use a wide open aperture.
You open up the lens more. Okay.
Right. Open up the lens, make the aperture number smaller, or you raise the ISO. That would be a good way to do it. Or you shoot in bright sunlight, as we did for the group shot, and then you don't really have to worry about anything there.
So if you set your camera to S or TV, to shutter priority, it's smart enough when you turn the shutter up to the faster speed. I call it up, but really you're turning it down. When you get the faster speed, it will automatically take care of the other settings so that the exposure is proper.
Yes, normally we'll do that. And now the other way around is, if you want to exaggerate motion, you would use longer shutter speeds, maybe a 1/10 of a second or something, to give some motion blur into the picture. You could, for example, show someone moving, and you can actually see the motion in there. You could also move the camera with things. So you'd be able to really get artsy with this, or do something that the picture you're just showing, fire, that's a fire juggler. And that picture is probably 4 or 5 seconds of exposure.
So this is a really slow shutter speed.
4 or 5 seconds long. It was at night, so that person was juggling fire on chain.
That's cool.
Whirling it around. And then you end up with these streaks in the air because of the long shutter speed.
Right.
But you can also use that to your advantage, for example, to introduce calmness in pictures. There are...
Well, what's interesting about this one, for instance, is because the juggler's moving, he's kind of disappeared.
Almost not there.
Yeah.
Actually, in old days, when photography was very young and back then films were not as sensitive, they used very long shutter speeds. So the early pictures of cities pretty much show empty cities because people and they turn invisible. So if you see very old pictures of cities, they are actually pretty much empty most of the time.
Wow. I never realized that.
So the interesting thing is, with those longer shutter speeds, you will also be able to, for example, introduce calmness in pictures. If you have a water surface and it's windy, if you freeze that with a short shutter speed, you'll end up with a very busy kind of picture. But if you expose that picture for half a second, that'll smooth out everything. And all of a sudden, that water surface will almost look like it's kind of foggy and very, very calm. So you can really change the mood and the drama in a picture this way very, very well. And then there's one thing, and that goes back to the tech side. Have you seen those pictures where a photographer used a stroboscope, where used several short flashes in rapid succession?
Oh, no, that's cool.
If you own a speedlight, any of the higher ups,
a flash. I have a flash that I can, off-camera flash. So how would I use that?
Probably have a strobe setting on it. You should look it up in the manual. Strobe setting that will let you. Let's say you can set up 10 strobes with a 1/10 of a second in between. So you'd have 10 short strobes. Now, if you get a subject in front of the camera in the dark, let's say a golfer doing a golf, and you fire these 10 strobes, you can actually get all these 10 individual parts of that golf swing in one picture.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Those look really awesome. They take a lot of, they're a pretty advanced thing, but you can get something really, really awesome.
You'd need a tripod for that, though, right? Or maybe not.
You would need, also for a 10-second exposure of the one of the fire juggler, you will need a tripod. You'll have secured in one place.
Yeah, because if you didn't use a tripod, the stuff that's not moving would get all blurry.
Exactly. So in that picture, the background is pretty much sharp and in focus, and just the one thing is moving. Also, have you seen panning shots where you move the camera with some?
I always try to do these. You've got an example here of a couple on a motorcycle, and to give the illusion of speed, the motorcycle's not moving, but the background is blurred. How do you do that?
So you would set the camera to a kind of a lengthy shutter speed, let's say 1/10 of a second in that case, and then you shoot a burst. You set your camera to rapid fire, and then you go clack, 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 while you follow that vehicle with your camera. And then what you get is the vehicle or the thing that's moving in focus, and the rest, the background is going to be all blurred.
That also takes some practice, because you've got the idea is that you're exactly following the moving object. And that just takes some practice, I think, especially if it's a race car.
The last advance, if you look at just getting a longer shutter speed, not even a tripod, set the camera onto something, and start experimenting with motion. Photography leads itself so well to experimenting.
I agree.
So motion is awesome.
We'll put some links. Chris has sent me some excellent examples of what he's talking about. We'll put some links up on the show notes of those. And if you want to know more about Chris, his workshops, if you want to listen to his podcast, which is really all about the basics of getting great pictures, it's chrismarquardt.com. Chris, great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us. See you next time. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Kyle Benham, our musical director, spinning the discs on his JBL Apollo speakers. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. By the way, if you like the music and you want to know what songs he played, we make a Spotify. He makes a Spotify playlist, which he puts up on his Google Plus account, which is KYLE space BENHAM. But, we're going to take that and put it on our website, too. So, techguylabs.com is another place you could find it. Dave in Merced, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Dave. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Are you there?
I'm here. I know there was I should warn everybody. When we pick up the phone, there's a big trunk. That's me saying hello.
Hello, sir. I do photography here locally, primarily with the local fire department, which I'm a volunteer with, and we do a lot. I do a lot of photo manipulation, and so we can improve the vision and see what I'm actually taking pictures of within Photoshop. Every once in a while, I see references to Lightroom, and I'm wondering if there's any advantage of adding Lightroom to my chest of tools.
I use Lightroom, and I do think there is. So let me describe what Lightroom does that Photoshop does not. Lightroom is, it was originally designed for a professional photographer who imports a great many pictures, wants to quickly go through those pictures, picking the images he wants, and then retouching those images. And the original Lightroom did it in a kind of photojournalistic way. That is, unlike Photoshop, where you could take somebody's head and put it on another person's body, Lightroom originally was what we call non-destructive. You could change the white balance, you could change the levels, you could do that kind of thing, dodge and burn, but you couldn't modify a photo. Well, as Lightroom has gotten older and older, it's currently in version 4, more and more of those Photoshop-like capabilities have been added. But essentially the idea is Photoshop is for a pro photographer or a semi-pro photographer, somebody who takes a lot of pictures, a tool for you to go through, catalog, edit, pick the best shot, change the lighting, change the curves, the white balance. It has a lot of very nice features for that. It also has presets, and you can add more plugins so that, for instance, if you always, and you can create your own. So, for instance, if you have if you're doing it for print and there's a standard screen you use, or you like to change things to black and white, you can have presets that do that automatically, even in a batch mode. So you can, for instance, I have 20 pictures of that were shot in our studios of my staff, and the white balance was off on all 20. I can fix the white balance on one and then copy and paste those settings over to all the rest. So it's a very good, quick way to modify and process photos. It does not eliminate the need for Photoshop. You still use Photoshop, and everybody I know who uses Lightroom uses Photoshop quite a bit. In fact, Lightroom, because it comes from Adobe, really integrates well with Photoshop. But in fact, it uses Adobe Camera Raw, which is the same processing that Photoshop uses. You can edit in Photoshop, so you can work on your photos, pick the ones you want, do some basic modifications in Lightroom. Often, in my case, that's more than enough. Lightroom also has connectors to upload to Facebook, SmugMug, Flickr, 500px, all the places photographers like to put their photos. But then if you want to make some more heavy-duty modifications, you can open that same image in Photoshop. And the modified photo is then put it back into Lightroom. So they go together. Lightroom, think of it as a management tool, a quick editing tool for photojournalists, for people who aren't doing major modifications. Things like lens corrections, black and white, balance, tone, curves, things like that. Does that make sense, Dave?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I typically, I'll shoot, maybe anywhere from 100 to 600 shots during either
exactly
or training, and
right.
And I sit down and I have to actually go through Photoshop, and
you can use Bridge, which comes with Photoshop. It's a way of looking at all your pictures and picking the ones you want. But Lightroom is really, I think, a little bit better.
Okay. Very good. Do you have time for one more quick question?
Sure, Dave.
I use the old Fuji S7000 camera, and we actually we've got about, between the fire department, we've got probably about 7 or 8 of them, and I'm looking at the I think it's the HS25 camera that they have. Would that be a good upgrade to go to, or would there be a better one to look at?
First of all, I presume it uses the same lenses, so that's, you do want to stay with Fujifilm.
Right.
They have this new chip they call their EXR chip that's unique to Fujifilm, and I have an X100 and I've played with the X10, and that EXR chip is kind of interesting. It's a very high pixel count, but most of the time you don't use all those pixels in the final output, but what you'll do is you'll merge pixels together to get more clarity, or to give you some special things like multiple focal ranges or multiple balances. It's a very interesting technology, which I actually liked quite a bit. If you've got Fuji lenses and you want to stay with Fuji, I think the HS25 is a very nice camera.
Well, now the camera I have actually has the built-in lenses.
So you have it. Okay, so and by the way, I have a good friend who does. He's a firefighter. No, actually, I think he's a police officer, but he does fire pictures, and he doesn't bring an expensive camera because, well, there's a lot of smoke and soot and heat and open flame. And so he uses less expensive cameras to shoot this because he doesn't want to risk his expensive cameras in the heat of the battle. Do you actually go to active fires?
Oh yes, I'm actually out on the fire ground. I actually part of the time play safety officer.
Yeah. Well, if you go to Fireground Photography, that's his site, firegroundaction.com.
Okay.
And he does beautiful stuff. And I think he uses Nikons. Probably D90, D70, something like that. Nowadays, you might be using the 3200. They're the kind of more entry-level Nikons with APS-C sensors. I think you would benefit from a larger sensor. So if you do want to, if it's time to upgrade, it might be time for a DSLR for you if you want to get serious. And then you can get longer lenses, telephoto lenses. You get wider lenses. You could shoot in lower light. A lot of times with fire, it seems like it's very bright, but of course the fire is bright, but the rest of it's very dark. And so having more capability with your lenses and your camera can give you shots that you just wouldn't get otherwise.
Right. Yeah, we and I do actually play around with the photos, and some of the ones that don't turn out, I'm actually able to manipulate into art.
Sure. Well, again, the more pixels in the sensor, the more you'll be able to do that with.
Okay.
Because you've got more information, you got more to work with. DSLRs are really great at low light photography because they get detail that maybe wouldn't be there with a smaller sensor.
Right.
Craig Derling's stuff. If you go to firegroundaction.com, he's an amazing fireground photographer. And as I said, he uses a DSLR, but not top of the line because he goes through quite a few of them, as I imagine you do as well.
You have to duck when the chief has the fire hose in hand.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, well, great talking with you, and have a great weekend.
Dave, do you have a website?
Yes, I do. I'll post it in the chat room if you want.
Would you please? Yeah, I'd love to share it with the because
Sure,
these are you put yourself in harm's way, but you get amazing pictures as a result. I love Craig's stuff. It's just really fun to see. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, sir. Well, thank you very much.
Nice to meet you. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the tech guy here. Time to talk computers, technology, home theater, digital photography, giant speakers, anything that's on your mind. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., you can use Skype out and it still won't cost you anything. 8888 Ask Leo. Back to let's just, we got an hour left. Let's take a lot of calls. That's what I like to do best. So starting with Chip in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Hi, Chip. Leo Laporte. Hey, Chip. Hey, welcome.
Hi, Leo. Let me grab my notes. But before I ask you my question, I just want to thank you for two things you suggested. It was Dropbox and Microsoft Securities. I've never had to use another USB flash again after Dropbox. I never knew about that before.
I'm a big fan. In fact, if you buy a Galaxy S2, not all the carriers are doing this, but I think T-Mobile and Sprint are. If you buy a Galaxy S2, you get 2 years of 50 gigs free of Dropbox. 50 gigs, that's awesome. Yeah, I like Dropbox as a kind of synchronization and backup. It's a good choice.
Yeah, I used to hate having that USB sticks always sticking out of my book.
Yeah, although I have an awful lot of those too. Okay, I carry around. I've even got one on my keychain, 32 gig on my keychain. So it's always nice to have. You can never have too much storage. Well, what can I do for you, Chip?
Okay, Firefox. They've been updating. I know you don't like Firefox. You switched to Chrome.
I did.
Now, I was on the forum. Firefox is forcing everybody to update to 12.
Right.
What's happening is there used to be a little box where they said after you decline the update, don't remind me again. But they don't have that check mark anymore. So people on the forums, certain forums, have been saying that they've been updating without their permission.
That's right. That's the new thing. And I think that there is a very strong argument in its favor. Your number one way to get infected by malware, in fact, pretty much the way these days, is via a virus and infected sites. Security issues in your browser are paramount, and I think everybody, including Firefox and Google and Microsoft and Apple, realizes that you've just got to keep these browsers up to date. In fact, Microsoft is so adamant about it, they've created a site for people who are still using IE6, begging them to upgrade. So I think this is pretty normal. Now, I have just opened my Firefox. I haven't used it in a long time. I'm using Firefox 8. It said, whoa, we better get you to 11. But at least it said apply update, right? So it downloaded the update, but it didn't say I had to apply it.
There's a couple of things I might have missed on Chrome that is really aggravating. One of them is like typing in the address and the search all in the same box. There's like a delay time. I think there's like maybe about 10-second delay before something shows up.
Well, I don't experience that in Chrome myself. By the way, everybody's doing that now. In fact, Firefox invented it. They called it the Anywhere box. I think that's, but you don't have much choice. I don't think there's any way to avoid that single box for both searches and URLs. That's just the way it is. Even Apple is doing it.
Well, that's why I like the old Firefox, because they had another plugin, which is a search bar by itself. You can have a drop down your choices between Google or YouTube or Wikipedia, so I don't even have to go on let's say the YouTube site to find certain things.
I understand, but again, the older browsers are just not secure. And Firefox had a huge problem with memory leaks. This wasn't a security issue. It just was eating memory. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but the longer you use Firefox, the less memory you have on your machine, and eventually it'll force a crash.
It's been crashing even after I opened it.
Right, so update! I know. I agree. I understand what you're saying. Now, one of the things about Firefox is the user interface is very configurable, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a plug-in for Firefox, an extension they call them for Firefox, that would give you back this separate Google bar and URL window.
Yeah, other problems that are preventing me and a lot of people from going to the new Firefoxes. For example, they don't have RoboForm anymore. RoboForm doesn't support.
Well, RoboForm's got to update itself, right? So that is an issue too. When you update the browser, extensions break.
All right.
Firefox still has a separate search box, so that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, the thing with RoboForm is they don't support it. Period. They say. I bought a lifetime membership about 4 or 5 years ago.
Don't blame Firefox, blame RoboForm.
I know.
Can I make a recommendation? It's free and it's better than RoboForm, and it works on every platform. It's called LastPass.
I've tried that, Leo. I went through it, and the problem is they don't import RoboForm data. I've searched their form.
Oh, and so you're stuck now. I get it.
Stuck with RoboForm until, but Chrome has a plugin for RoboForm. It works a little, and there's something clunky about it, but that's just a cautionary tale. I think one day LastPass is going to start charging people for just the basic service also.
Well, right now, I don't think so. They have what's called a freemium model, and this works very well on the Internet. A lot of people use freemium models. The basic LastPass is free, but if you want LastPass, I don't know what they call it, professional or something, it's $1 a month. It's very affordable. I do that not even because I want the features, but because I want to support them. I want them to stay in business. I doubt very much LastPass. RoboForm is not free. RoboForm is a paid program. And look what happened. They stopped supporting the most common browser out there. So you really, you got to wonder. LastPass is here to stay. These are good people. I do not think they will ever start charging more. I think they will always offer this freemium model because it works. People start using it for free. Evernote is a very good example of a company that's done very well. I've talked to Phil Lieben, the CEO of Evernote. You know, Evernote is a great program. I've recommended it. It's free. It comes on every platform. It's kind of like LastPass in that respect, including all the smartphones. And they have a premium version. And I asked Phil, I said, well, you know, are you going to stick with this model? He said, it really works well for us. He said, a lot of people convert to the paid version. The free version is a great come-on. We're happy that people use it and try it. And as you become more and more invested in Evernote or LastPass, and more of your stuff's in there, it becomes more and more in your interest to pay for it. In fact, what he said is that most people become paid users almost immediately. It doesn't take them very long. So I would guess that I haven't talked to the LastPass guys about their freemium model, but I would guess it works just as well for them. This is a good model. A lot of people use. And by the way, now my Firefox is updated all its way. I hadn't opened it since version 8. Now it's all the way up to 13. And yeah, no, Firefox still has separate search and URL bars. I didn't realize they were still doing that. That's kind of old-fashioned. Even Apple's dumping that one in the next version of the operating system. Justin, Bakersfield, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling.
I've got a question. My computer, my PC, got stolen. 2 weeks old.
I'm so sorry. Oh, that's terrible.
I know. And I did the dumb thing. I had Dropbox on it, and I quickly went and unlinked my desktop from Dropbox. But now I can't go in and wipe my Dropbox. It's all the files on my C drive that were in Dropbox are still on my C drive on my computer. So I'm wondering if there's a way to go back in and relink my computer back to Dropbox I've already unlinked.
I would guess if you just get the Dropbox app and log in and point it at that Dropbox folder, it'll all be back the way it was, won't it? No? Chat room says no. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Summer loving had me a blast. Summer loving happened so fast. I met a girl crazy for me. Met a boy cute as can be.
He stole my computer.
Drifting away to other summer nights.
Oh, well. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Tell me more. So, unfortunately, I think we lost the caller who was having the Dropbox problem. So I'm going to have to piece together. I've been talking with the chat room, and they explained to me what they think happened. Poor guy, brand new computer, 2 weeks old. He had Dropbox, which is a nice service. It's 2 gigabytes free. If you pay for it, you can get more. And what Dropbox does is very cool. You put Dropbox on all. It's for people with multiple computers or who want to share files with other people, but mostly it's designed for people who have a laptop and a desktop, as our caller did. And what happens is you get a Dropbox folder on each computer, and anything you put in there is automatically synced to Dropbox's servers in the cloud and to that other computer. So I do that with a documents folder, for instance. And that way my documents are on all the computers, or the documents in that folder are on all the computers. Now, the problem is by the way, this is a cautionary tale. If you have a laptop, if you take it out of the house, any computer you take out of the house, please make sure that it doesn't have automatic login. Make sure that you have to log into it. In fact, my suggestion would be that set your security settings on your computer so that when it goes to sleep or the screensaver kicks in or when you close it or shut it down, that you need to use the password to log back in. I know that's a pain, but that would have protected him against the bad guys who stole his computer. Well, I guess there might be ways they could get around that, but most bad guys, it's going to be sufficient. They don't care about your data in most cases anyway. They just want to sell the computer to somebody. So make sure, I do this certainly on any laptop I take out of the house. There's going to be a login on that. I guess he didn't have a login, and he has a Dropbox folder on there, and there's data in there, and he wishes he could get off of that computer. Dropbox, I don't think, has a remote delete capability. There are ways to remotely delete computers. Mac laptops have that feature built into it ever since iCloud. And there are programs that will do that on the Windows PC. I presume he didn't have those either. So what he did was he unlinked his Dropbox account from that portable computer. The problem is that doesn't delete the files. Unfortunately, had he left it linked and then on his desktop moved all the files out, Dropbox would have moved all the files, would have deleted all the files on the laptop, and then he could unlink, and that data be gone. Assuming that the person didn't have a way to log into Dropbox and get it. I would call Dropbox support and see what they could do for you. I don't think you've got any other way to do that. Here's a link, thank you, chat room, to a Quora Q&A for this exact problem. Quora is a site where you ask a question and experts weigh in. Can you revoke and remotely disable file access on Dropbox? Can you delete local versions of Dropbox-placed files? And we'll put a link in the show notes to the answers. If the PC with the personal drive still has the Dropbox client installed and it's actively syncing, you could copy everything from the Dropbox into a different location, delete the contents of the Dropbox, wait until the remote device syncs, then unlink the device. However, as our caller learned, unlinking the device won't remove the files. You have to do that first, sync it first, and then unlink it. And I think that's why he's bemoaning his fate, because I think he realized that, unfortunately. Too late now. Maybe if you called Dropbox and asked, but I doubt it. Roland in Hutchinson, Kansas. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Roland.
Hey, Leo, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Not bad. I go way back to the tech days with you.
Ah, the good old days. Screensavers, call for help.
Screensavers. You had all those cute girls you used to work with.
What? Really? Dang, I didn't even notice.
Didn't even notice. I bet you didn't. I have a quick question for you. I'm thinking on whether to buy a Mac Mini. I currently have one, or to get an iPad 3. I currently have an iPad 1. But
well, they're really different, of course. The Mac Mini is a Macintosh, so it runs OS X.
Right, but I'm getting to where about mostly what I do with the Mini is basically iTunes on the Mini anymore.
Oh, well, there you go. Everything that you do on the... Well, do you sync a phone up?
Yeah, I was going to say I do sync both of our iPhones.
Ah, see, the iPad won't sync to a... It cannot become the storage unit for your music that then syncs to phones or iPods.
Right, but if I still have the Mac Mini I have...
yeah, you're not going to get rid of it? Fine. Yeah, use that as the master.
But the question I had is, I thought you said a few weeks ago that Mountain Lion or eventually was going to get rid of some of the older computers, kind of like they did when they went to OS X.
That's right.
And how do I know how far back...
What operating system is on your Mac Mini now?
Right now, it is Snow Leopard.
Oh, you're good then. If it's Snow Leopard or later, you can put Mountain Lion on it.
Okay. All right. Well, then one other quick question, if I can. I have a Tower Mac. I believe they called them the Sawtooth going back a few years.
Okay.
That I put into a FireWire mode. I'm sorry.
Target disk mode, they call it, where you press the T when you boot, and instead of being a computer, that thing is just a big hard drive.
Right, and it's still stuck in a big hard drive mode.
It's stuck? It's stuck? You can't get it to come out of that?
No.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I'm not pushing the right keys in sequence or...
So you got to turn the thing off all the way, right?
Right.
That's you press and hold the on-off switch until it just powers everything down. And then you press the button again, and it comes up in target disk mode again?
It's still in... Yeah, that's what shows on my monitor, is that big... Not a Y, but...
I doubt.
I don't know if
I don't know what happened. That doesn't sound right. Pull the power cable, unplug the keyboard in case maybe the T key is stuck. I don't know. Now, I am looking, the chat room says, wait a minute, Leo, there are some minis that can run Snow Leopard that can't run Mountain Lion. So you have to have a 64-bit Core 2 Duo or better. You have to be, in other words, because it's going to be 64-bit, so you have to be able to boot into the 64-bit kernel. You'll need a fairly advanced GPU. Basically, any Mac pre-2007 will not run Mountain Lion. When did you get that Mini?
Oh, I want to say it was about 2007, 2008.
As long as it's Mac Minis prior to 2007. So if you bought it in 2007, you're all right.
Okay, see if I can go online and figure that out. But it does say it has a Intel Core Duo, which I don't know if that helps us or not.
Yeah, I think you're all right.
Okay.
It's according, now this is an article from os10daily.com, and Macs that are not expected to support Mountain Lion or anything with GMA 950 or X31 integrated graphics or an ATI Radeon X1600 or older, MacBooks older than 2008, Minis older than 2007, iMacs older than 2007. Otherwise, you're okay. Kyle, you're bringing out the old stuff today. I like it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We're talking to Roland in Hutchinson, Kansas. He wants to know, should I buy an iPad or a Mac Mini? And, well, you got the Mini. Keep the Mini. You'll be able. It looks like you'll be able to put Lion on it. And then get an iPad, and you'll be set. You'll have everything.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right. Sounds like a plan. And Leo,
right.
thank you very much.
Thanks, Roland. Appreciate it. William in Baton Rouge. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, William.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
Very well. How are you?
Listen, I'm great. Thanks for taking my call. I actually met you several times at in South by. We go every year, South by Southwest. I think every time I've gone, I've bumped into you. So just want to say thanks for taking my call.
That's the best party the tech industry puts on in Austin every year. We didn't go this year.
Yeah, we didn't go this year either. My family and I, we've been 5 years in a row, and this year we decided, well, let's take a break.
Now, William, if I remember, you lost a little weight, didn't you?
I sure did, Leo. Yeah, I should.
How you doing on that?
Doing okay. I kind of put a little bit back on.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's hard, especially with traveling and work and things like this.
But how many pounds did you lose, William?
I lost 205.
That's a whole Leo Laporte you lost.
Yeah. I tell you, going from a size, 58-inch waist down to like a 38-inch waist is an awesome.
Oh, so cool. And reason I remember, William, is your kids and your wife were so proud of you and so happy about it. And that's really great.
Oh yeah. Well, I put some back on, but I'm rededicated to get back on it and get back into those 30s, 38s and below.
Yeah, you don't want to go back up there.
No.
So what can I do for you today?
So my question is, and you guys were talking a lot about Aperture and iPhoto, and I use both. I've been using Aperture since version 2, and I'm up on version 3 now in iPhoto. And my workflow for my photography is I keep my DSLR pics, my DSLR photos in Aperture, and my pictures that I snap with my iDevice, my iPhone or whatever, I keep in iPhoto.
I pretty much do the same thing. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, things have changed with Aperture 3.3.
Exactly. So what I'm looking at, and to be honest with you, as I use my iPhone, I have a 4S, more, and I find myself actually shooting more photography with just the iPhone.
Isn't that interesting? It's a good enough camera, isn't it?
It's a good enough camera, but what's best is it's the camera that you always have with you.
Exactly.
And I've got things like this Olo clips. You can clip on the thing.
I love that. That gives you wide angle and macro. I love the Olo clip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking about is if I was wanting to consolidate everything into Aperture, and the thing I really like about Aperture is to have vaults. I can have multiple copies and backups of my photos.
Right.
I use Time Machine for iPhoto, and that works okay, but I like to have more than one backup that's handled automatically.
Yeah, and the Vault is exactly that. And that's where you see programs like Aperture and Lightroom really shine, is for pros who really take photography seriously. You shoot a wedding, you're going to put it in a Vault, and you're going to put that Vault in a drive, and you're going to take that drive somewhere else because you cannot afford to lose that. They're not going to stage that wedding again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was looking at it, since Aperture has kind of gotten into parity with iPhoto, so now you've got faces, places, and
right. All the consumer features of iPhoto are now in Aperture. And with this new 3.3, you could do both. It's the same database for both. So if you like iPhoto, you just open iPhoto, and there's all the same pictures. Use iPhoto for things like photo books. Well, actually, there's not much you can do in iPhoto that you can't do in Aperture, to be honest.
Exactly, and that's what I was really thinking is, and it seems now Apple is updating both kind of at the same time. It used to be iPhoto was the one that got, faces, places first. Anyway, my question really is, if I migrated or imported my photos from iPhoto into Aperture, am I losing anything? Does it still will it import my videos that I snap
Yeah.
from my...
Well, now that's the same database. So with version 3.3, when you open Aperture or you open the newest iPhone photo, it will say, can we convert this? It'll convert it to a format, and now one database to rule them all. So that's really, it's... this is, I think, Apple's strategy along all of its Pro products. It wants to make iMovie and Final Cut kind of compatible, a smoother upgrade for somebody who wants to move up. And I think this is what they're doing with iPhoto. You start with iPhoto. If you want to go to Aperture, no problem. It's just everything you've already imported is still there.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I'm going to probably import my stuff later today and go from there. So thanks a lot for taking my call. And I'll be there to see you sometime end of August. I'm planning
great.
San Francisco. I'm going to, there's a conference called VMworld.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to be there, and I'll come up and see you guys.
We always get a lot of visitors during VMworld. I'll look forward to it, William.
Awesome. You have a great...
You too. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, I think if you're getting serious about photography, it's hard to say on a Mac. You really got two choices: Lightroom and Aperture. Aperture's from Apple, Lightroom's from Adobe. Those are the two big guys. I like Lightroom. I use Lightroom. I haven't got fully comfortable with Aperture, but Aperture now is it's less expensive. They just updated it. It's got a unified photo library for iPhoto and Aperture. And for those of us using the new MacBook Pro with Retina display, Aperture's updated and Lightroom is not. So it looks like I'll be using Aperture myself for a while, and maybe I'll get comfortable enough with it. I won't go back to Lightroom. We'll have to see. But, both of them do roughly the same thing. Rancho Cucamonga. Gary, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo.
Hey, Gary.
I, too, like the last two callers, long-time listener, following you for the tech days, and matter of fact, back in Comdex, brought you a huge 6-layer chocolate cake to enjoy up on stage.
I remember it.
It's been
that was good. Thank you. Thank you after the fact, Gary.
Anyway, the reason why I'm calling, Leo, is I took your advice on the last purchase of an iPad, and I'm looking for some weigh-in from you. I'm looking at the Galaxy SIII that is not quite out yet. It'll be here soon in the next week or two.
Ooh, and I love it.
That's good to hear that. And also the Samsung Galaxy Note, which the trade-off is, I'm just afraid if it's too big. I think you call it a phablet. But
yeah, it's a phone and it's a... I was using the Note as my sole and main phone, and it's big. It's 5.3 inches until the Galaxy S3 came out. And I ordered it unlocked from England, so I'm using the European version. And I have to say, the Note has taken a back seat now. This is I would say the Galaxy S3 is the best phone out there. The closest runner-up on the Android side is the HTC One, which is also very nice. But I am a big fan of the Galaxy S3. Really nice phone. Highly recommended. And I think, the Note's pretty big. If you really want a big screen, you're going to go with the Note. But this is the same resolution on the Galaxy S3. So it's also 1280 by 800. And it just fits a little bit better into your pocket. It's just a little easier to carry. It's very powerful. Quad-core processor on the international version. I think most of the U.S. carriers, because they want LTE, are going to offer a dual-core version. But on the other hand, you get LTE. I'm a big fan of the Galaxy S3. I have no hesitation in saying this is the best phone I've ever used.
And how about the battery life?
It's fine. Now, I always do this with Android phones. I always buy an extra battery or two. Because then,
PC, it's not replaceable, yes?
Yeah. Now, that's one thing it's got over the Note. I mean, not the Note, the HTC One. That is not replaceable. But see, I always have an extra Samsung battery. It's a 21 milliamp hour, which is almost as big as the Note's battery. I get through the day easy on this, even with this nice screen. Highly recommended. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
As we walked by, soft kisses on a summer's day, laughing all our cares.
What is it, the Four Freshmen?
Just you and
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Chad and Jeremy, there you go. That's pretty. That's when music was music. And I had a preamp, an amplifier, and giant speakers. And a turntable. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Elizabeth, Hermosa Beach, California. Leo Laporte here. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for talking with me.
Of course.
Rudimentary question. I have to get a new desktop, and should I hang out till Windows 8 comes out, or?
Well, that's a great boy. That you asked a mouthful. That's a tough question. I'll tell you some information that might help you make the choice. Windows 8 will not be out till September, or more likely October.
Yes.
So that's one thing, if you can wait that long. Windows 8 hardware is probably going to be different. Look at this Microsoft Surface. It's essentially a tablet. I think, in my opinion, Windows 7 is the best version of Windows ever, and I am very skeptical about Windows 8.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm not crazy about it. Now, of course, if you bought a PC today, almost all of them have for a $15 upgrade to Windows 8. So you can get Windows 8 if you want it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Windows 8, because of its tablet-y nature, really begs for a touch screen.
Okay.
So my opinion is do not wait for 8. Get Windows 7. It's the best version of Windows ever. It's my opinion that when Windows 8 comes out, there will be such a howl of pain, particularly from business, that Microsoft will announce, oh, don't worry, we're going to keep Windows 7 alive for another 10 years. Serious. I'm serious. I think Windows 7 will have a much longer than usual shelf life because business does not want to go to a tablet interface, not for its desktops.
Oh. Okay, well, that's a super answer.
So if you like Windows 7, and I think you should, I think it's very nice, and if you're comfortable with it, I'd get a Windows 7 desktop, and you'll be fine.
I'll be good to go. Well, that's a great answer. I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. Yeah, I want to be clear. I applaud Microsoft for innovating, for taking a chance. They say we reimagined Windows, and they sure did. But I can see the howl of pain from people who, a lot of people aren't aware of Windows 8 yet. But when they suddenly become aware, especially businesses, they're going to say, we don't want that. What are you, crazy? That's a tablet interface. And what will happen is that they'll say, we're not upgrading. And by the way, most businesses are still on Windows XP anyway. They didn't upgrade to Vista. They didn't upgrade to Windows 7. So if it's time for a new computer in business, they'll buy a Windows 7 computer. And again, I don't think this is going to be a case where Microsoft starts selling Windows 8 and stops selling Windows 7. I think Windows 7, in fact, especially because Microsoft's decided to go in the hardware business, that Lenovo and Dell and a lot of other companies are going to put huge pressure on Microsoft. And by the way, Microsoft owes them one to keep offering Windows 7 machines for at least 4 or 5 years. You will be able to get Windows 7 for a long time to come because a lot of people do not want Windows 8, and I can sympathize. I've been using it. The problem is it's great on a tablet. It's natural, to slide things, but it's a little weird with a mouse. It takes some getting used to. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I still have 3 calls on the board. Let's say Sam from Downey next. He wants to set up a kiosk. Jerry in Phoenix wants to know about the Retina display. I would love to talk about that because I am a proud owner of the new MacBook Elite, the very expensive MacBook with a super high-res screen, which I love. So we'll talk about what that means for the future. Sam, Downey, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
I hear you talking about Windows 8.
Yeah, what do you think?
It's great for the project which I got, which is a kiosk software.
Absolutely.
And it used touchscreen.
Yeah, touchscreen's going to be great, and I think because Windows 8 is so good for touch that even the laptops and desktops may have some form of touch.
Right. So I did develop the software and already put it in the website. But the only thing which worries me is I don't want any public access. In other words, to go to the
Yeah. You want it in kiosk mode.
Kiosk mode.
Yeah.
That,
all versions of Windows that I know of have had a kiosk mode. I can't imagine that they would not do a kiosk mode in Windows 8. I don't know how you would do it yet.
I don't know how to do it in Windows 7. I'm trying to do it in Windows 7. And I still don't know how to do it in Windows 7 because the program which I'm offering, they can use it for their birthdays, for our companies, and they don't want somebody to go mess with their computer.
Right. Microsoft has a number of articles about this. Let me see if I can give you a quick answer. I would guess that it is part of the policy editor. But let me see.
But that will run only in a professional version. I'm trying to offer it for users. And I know I looked at that answer, Leo.
Yeah.
I spoke to you before. I do the software for green screen.
Oh, yeah.
The Green Genie.
Green Genie, that's right. How's that going?
Well, it's great, but I add the kiosk mode, which you can do with the green screen or without it.
Right.
And you can use they can use either iFi card to transfer the images, or they can use the Dropbox from the cell phone.
So there are programs that will do kiosk mode for Windows 7. I'm going to give you, I'll put this in the show notes, a link to a Locker Gnome article. Thank you, DG Murdoch III, in our chat room. And he's posted, and Luke Stratton, who's posted some articles. All of them are a chat room. They talk about the registry edits that you would make. This is kind of a by-hand way to do it. Works just fine with any versions of Windows. In the registry editor, for instance, you will disable some of the keys, for instance, so that people can't hit the Windows key or hit the Shift key. Actually, it looks pretty straightforward. Looks like there's just one key to edit and ignore Shift override. Huh?
Do it for yourself, but if you want to, average user, they got a home party, or a wedding, they don't know how to do that.
I see what your issue is. I get what you're saying. You want to have the software installer to do it.
Right. I need something either in open source, which they can download, or something like that.
I don't know, Sam. Let me look around. Let's see if the chat room could find something for you. We've already got 3 links. I'll tell you what, Sam, pay attention to our website over the next few days, techguylabs.com, and we'll see if we can find what you really probably want is, if it's just a registry key, your installer could do it. Or even better, you could make a little desktop icon that you double-click, and the user double-clicks, puts it in kiosk mode, and then you could go into and out of kiosk mode by modifying that registry key. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. But you're the programmer. I'm sure you can figure that out. You just make a .reg file that modifies the registry on the fly, and then the user could do it. Let's see if I can squeeze one more in. Jerry in Phoenix. Hi, Jerry.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
Welcome to the show. I'm great. How are you?
Good. That's a great show. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I've got a 2007 MacBook Pro, which I love. It's been working great, but I've been waiting for the new MacBook Pros that have come out with the iWeb processor.
Love the Retina display. Love it. Highly recommended, but I'm out of time. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the TWiT Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.